So today we're going to talk about Byzantine music in heavy metal, and sorry for the Batuska picture, we're not going to talk about Batuska, we're going to talk about more bizarre and underground bands. But the question today is, where did Byzantium, the Roman Empire of the East, go after it fell in 1453? Of course, historians will argue, and rightly so, that many of its socio-political structures and even cultural structures became incorporated into the Ottoman Empire and therein endured and evolved throughout the centuries. But the object of our present inquiry is, where did Byzantine liturgical music go today and how did it slip into the underworld of metal music? So, to give a little bit of a background first, and the fall of Constantinople did mark the end of the world's most long-lived Orthodox Christian empire, but it did not spell the end of its liturgical tradition. Gennadius II, the so-called Scholarius, became Patriarch of Constantinople from the 6th of January 1454 up until 1456, following the wish and permission of Mehmed II, the conqueror, the Fatih Sultan, and the church received a plethora of fiscal benefits from the Sultan, and high-ranking Orthodox clerics essentially became the de facto political leaders of the vanquished Roman Christians. This should come to as no surprise to those who are familiar with the infamous quote attributed to Lucas Notaras, the Grand Duke, a little before the fall of Constantinople. And Lucas Notaras, being a supporter of the same position as Gennadius, said it is better to see the Turks' turban ruling in the midst of the city, and we know the city is Constantinople with a capital C, right? Even to this day it's referred to as just the city in Greece, than the tiara of the Pope. In other words, the Orthodox Church found it easier to align itself with the Islamic conquerors than with the last emperor, Constantine XI Paleologos, who promoted a union between the Eastern and the Western Church by making, of course, the Eastern Orthodox Church theologically subservient to the Bishop of Rome in exchange for a much-needed military alliance and aid against the advance of the Ottoman armies. Now, fast forward to 600 years into the future, and we find the Greek Orthodox Church of today maintaining its 15th century musical tradition as if frozen in a time capsule. In fact, the Orthodox Church today, as we're going to show, has managed to equate Byzantine liturgical music with the very idea of the Eastern Roman Empire. Ironically enough, the official flag of the Greek Orthodox Church, the yellow one on the top, consists of the coat of arms of the Paleologos family on a yellow background, adopting the identity of the very ruler who opposed their claim to theological primacy. And actually you can see the unofficial flag of the Greek Orthodox Church that you find in many churches, which has the 4 Bs, and it gives a definite callback to the Byzantine Empire, again with the Paleologian eagle in the middle, and as well as the statue of the last emperor right opposite the metropolis. So that's actually very ironic for me. In any case, Byzantine liturgical music has existed for more than 2,000 years as a living cultural tradition, although most predominantly Orthodox countries today know and recognize it through its latest 15th century form. It is an exclusively vocal music and essentially monophonic, at least from a Western technical perspective. It primarily employs a single melodic line. However, this monophonic structure can be enhanced with the use of ison or ison, a continuous drone that provides harmonic support and enriches the texture of the chant. This the primary melodic voice, the main chant melody, is sung either by a soloist or by a choir. The ison or ison, the drone, is a continuous note or chord held by one or more singers, which underpins the whole melody. That's just a technical description of Byzantine music. Now, while the primary melodic line is the focus, the addition of the ison means that there are typically 2 layers of sound in Byzantine chant, the main melody and the supporting drone. However, these layers do not constitute polyphony in the Western musical sense, as the ison does not move independently, but rather supports the melodic line harmonically. Now, where'd that go? Yeah, there we go. Now, aside from these technical considerations, Byzantine liturgical music today has become intrinsically equated with Orthodox theology and the Orthodox Church. And this is the case not only in Greece, but all across the Balkan countries that are predominantly Orthodox, so in Serbia, in Bulgaria, in Romania, in Skopje, as well as in Russia, of course. We will not be touching the Russian scene, that is a chapter on its own, where, however, a slightly different style of liturgical music is used, the Slavonic chant, so that's why it's a separate chapter. Now, if we assume that metal music is, in its core, reactionary against conservatism and established tradition, it would seem very odd to find the influence of such a music entrenched in tradition in the genre of extreme music. And yet, this is not the case, as we shall presently see. In fact, there is a surprising overlap between the two, but also a weird story of resistance and then acceptance of it. That's the core of this presentation. So first off, we will examine the case of Mizar, a rock band from Skopje, the country known today as North Macedonia. Well done to Greek foreign policy on that. On a side note, for the purposes of this presentation, the term rock will be used as synonym with metal, black metal, dark wave, and any other genre of rock-structured music that attracts the attentions of fans of non-mainstream music. Now, this distinction is not arbitrary, but rather reflects a cultural, linguistic reality in Balkan countries. So, in Balkan countries, you are always a rocker, even if you listen to black metal or death metal. Nobody distinguishes. It's always rock music, the young people. So I'm using it in that sense. Mizar now was formed in 1981, and the music is a unique fusion of dark wave, gothic rock, and post-punk fused with the traditional music of Skopje. Now, they are known for their deep melancholic sound and the use of Macedonian folk motifs and scales. Notably, they are known for incorporating traditional and liturgical elements into their music, as, of course, it can be showcased in their song Constantinople from their album, I'll give this a shot, De Teto I Beloto More, The Boy in the White Sea. But let's give a minute, listen to Mizar to see how this all goes. You get the idea, and the usage of liturgical music in these vocals gives a profound sense of the autrefois, a melancholic evocation of the past of the Byzantine Empire combined with the pomp and gravitas of the Orthodox liturgy. In other words, exactly what a folk, dark wave, goth rock band would aspire for. And of course, it evokes the country's religious tradition in a cultural sense. That's the one. So, it is interesting to note that Mizar's merging of liturgical music was very well received in their native country and in the broader Balkan dark wave scene in 2010 that it was released. But I can personally attest that the extreme metal world was not as receptive 5 years before. In 2005, I released an instrumental track with my personal black metal / folk / dark wave band, Dol Amroth, entitled In Hoc Vinces. And the song was a mixture of electronic music, martial drums, and the Tipermachos Strategos chant. And the Tipermachos Strategos liturgical chant is one of the most, let's say, famous and well-known ones in the Greek Orthodox tradition, addressing the Virgin Mary as the invincible general of the armies of the Byzantine Empire. And it is canonically sung during the first 5 Fridays of Lent. Now, the Greek metal invader of that period, who reviewed that album with a rather mediocre rating, and I don't blame them for that. I mean, it was the first album we used electric guitars, and the recording quality was abysmal. But they did also make a special mention to this particular song that it sounded to them particularly off-putting, since it combined the very traditional element within the context of an album otherwise devoted to more canonic metal genres, metal themes like Tolkien battles and ancient myths. So here is my crime according to the Greek Metal Hammer of 2005. Yeah, there we go. So, sorry, no. Yep, I think that's good, yeah. So yeah, I won't put you through the whole thing, but that was the idea back then. My point was to combine the Byzantine and Orthodox viewpoint, the majesty, the gravitas, with an album otherwise devoted to epic themes. Mostly that album, I think it was Tolkien songs, I can't remember now. But basically, yeah, we did most of Tolkien. But I was not a pioneer, mind you, of course, because in the year 2000, and that's where things get really weird in this presentation, the church, or more accurately, elements within the Orthodox Greek church, attempted to take over the world of hard rock and heavy metal, as such spread a Christian and patriotic message to the youth. Collaborating with the late Archbishop of Greece, Christodoulos, Father Nectarios Moulatziotis, an abbot in Navpaktía, collaborated with some of his musically talented monks to release an album called Έμαθα ελεύθερος να ζω, I Learned to Live Free. Now the press, both the music and the mainstream, erupted in an uproar. The band, although officially called Ελεύθεροι, the free ones, was known to everyone as Paparokades, the rocking fathers, a nickname which Father Moulatziotis willingly embraced and even capitalized on. Now, the lead singer of the band at the time was Father Panteleimon, that was his priestly name, aka Yannis Papanikolaou, who was and is a very talented musician and heavy metal singer today. He has stopped being a monk for a long time and is the lead singer of the heavy metal band Diviner, formed in 2011. So let's take a listen first at Father Panteleimon / Yannis Papanikolaou of Diviner, great person, great singer, in their debut song of 2000 that really made some ripples in Greek society. You will listen that even though the quality is really bad, it was even at the time, for the time standards, you can hear the structure of the metal music as well as the very serious Byzantine influences in the chant. And this is actually the video clip, which is again really bad even for 2000 standards.
Λαοί, ας ενωθούμε, η νέα τάξη μας καλεί. Να γίνουμε κονσέρβες στην ίδια μηχανή. Θα τρως, θα πίνεις και θα κοιμάσαι. Δεν θέλω μεγάλο αφεντικό. It's so good.
And there's the flag.
So you can see everything going on there. Yeah. So of course, at the time, singing for the rocking fathers and being an Orthodox ordained monk in the official Greek Orthodox Church, so I have to stress that out. They weren't like a dissident church or anything like that. Yannis Papanikolaou's singing reflected beautifully the influences of Byzantine liturgical music that were part of his daily duties as a monk. Now, according to his own words, Yannis has been a fan of hard rock and heavy metal since the early 80s, listening to Pink Floyd, Deep Purple, Rainbow, Led Zeppelin, the Eagles, and all that. And therefore, it is very reasonable to assume that he still was a fan of those genres even when he was, a monk. Now, the Rocking Fathers, needless to say, caused quite a sensation, as well in Greece as well as worldwide. The high-ranking hierarchy of the Greek Orthodox Church did not openly condemn such an artistic endeavor by its members, but rather frowned heavily upon it and unofficially called them anarchists. Of course, the reception of the songs, whether for parody purposes or in all sincerity, were immense, and the Rocking Fathers stayed very popular up until 2006, proving that Byzantine music and a harder sound do mix for the ears of the general public. And now, yes, you can see this is on the left, Father Moulachiotis, the manager, let's say, the creator of the project. Yannis, who was a monk at the time, and this is Yannis, the frontman of Diviner nowadays. Great guy. You can find him in playing all sorts of live gigs in Athens. Now, do I have another slide for that? Oh, yeah, well, yeah, basically. So nowadays, where the stigma of Byzantine music and iconography within metal circles has long been effaced as an element of conservatism and strict adherence to a particular religious tradition, we find notably the solo project of Sakis Tolis from Rotting Christ, fraught with Byzantine liturgical chants and making use of the ison as an underlying layer to add musical atmosphere to his compositions. For instance, the song The Wrath of God, Sacred Path to Koutsoukos, I don't know how you pronounce that, Hixi Sigma, taken from his album Hixi Sigma, The Seven Seals of the Apocalypse, released in 2023, is an excellent example of this. In song Seal 4, The Death, we even find an alteration of Agios Athanatos Eleison Imas, which is a very well-known chorus of Orthodox liturgical tradition. Of course, the version of Sakis presents a more grim and suited to his atmosphere of death black metal concept, so instead of Agios Athanatos Eleison Imas, he sings Άγιος αθάνατος τον θάνατο προστάζει, ελέησον ημάς από τα πάθη. So, holy immortal orders death to liberate us from our passions, to have mercy on us from our passions. Still, he continues with a very highly recognizable liturgical phrase, Άγιος ο Θεός, Άγιος ισχυρός, Άγιος αθάνατος ελέησον ημάς. God is holy, God is mighty, God is immortal, have mercy on us. That any metal fan born and raised in a predominantly Orthodox country like Greece can immediately recognize and connect with the church. Do I have time? Yeah, I have a little moment to give you that. 2 minutes, okay, 14:56, yeah, I'll jump to the conclusions after that. Yeah, because that's basically it. Right, yeah, I don't want to take up any more of your time. Yeah, so I'll jump to the conclusion. Thus, we see today Byzantine liturgical music for metal fans in Orthodox countries is received and treated more as a cultural element, a sound of mysticism and power stemming from their own tradition, rather than a parroting of the oppressing side's mantras. In a sense, this has liberated Byzantine liturgical music from the narrow confines of its use during Mass and elevated its status to a form of cultural expression that metal bands can share with the broader audience, regardless of whether that audience has any familiarity with Byzantine music. So thank you very much. I'll just cut it short.